Alrighty, welcome on into my review slash unboxing of the Riot Quest board game by Privateer Press. I know it's been available since pre-release at Gen Con. It's only just really made its way over here into the UK, so I'm going to take a look. I'm going to look at the contents of the box, the miniatures that come inside. And when looking at the miniatures, I'm going to be looking at the quality of the sculpts, any possible defects, how easy I think they might be to assemble and then paint, whether or not they'll need pinning. I'm a bit heavy on the pinning myself. I prefer pin when I first get a model and then never have to worry about it. So without any more beating around the bush, let's get looking. So the box itself is glossy cardboard. It was a little bit strange. It did not come shrink wrapped or anything. I think this might be because the main board game, I think, might be produced in China, and then the miniatures are cast in the US. So they added them in once they got over to the US. I think that might be possible, but that's just conjecture on my part. So small spacer. So there's actually a lot less in the box than the size of the box would suggest. Deck of cards. The miniatures are all in one blister. The dice. This is an advert for Monpoc and for War Machine and Hordes, showing off some of the new Infernal models. This looks to be the game board. Now, I already knew that the game board coming with this would be printed paper to save on costs, and it's actually better quality than I expected, which is quite nice. I'm not a massive fan of having to use paper for board gaming because it does end up getting ratty very quickly. I have seen on the pre-order section of some websites that they're doing a neoprene mat. I'm not sure how viable it's going to be for me to be able to get that, but we shall see. I've also heard that they're going to be doing several different arenas, and this is just the first one. So, and it's called the Thunderhead Fortress apparently, which is in the fluff where the Crucible Guard used to be based back in Lael before the Khadorians took over. So it's quite a lot of funky detail, like these treasure piles, these areas, I believe, from the intro video about it, spawn gates. So it's quite interesting. I am just going to shift this to one side, get it out of the way. I'm not even going to try and fold it up because I will inevitably fail. Rulebook. Oh, nice and colour throughout. That's nice to see. I did already watch the How to Play on Privateer Press Prime, Privateer Press's YouTube channel. So that was quite informative, and I think that this is pretty much just it all written out long form. So it does seem like a really simple, easy game to get into, but there's a lot of variance once you've figured it all out. So this is the token sheet. A couple of mine seem to have punched out already. Oh no, they're just hanging on by little threads. So we've got some sort of injury tokens by the looks of it. These look to be the treasure chests. This one here, I think I read them saying that this is the area your mini goes when it's injured, and mine seems to have some damage to it, which is disappointing. It's a bit ratty looking, that one. I think these are to do with bounties, which are the ways of earning victory points in this game. I'm not 100% sure, I haven't fully seen them all yet. And these are loot tokens. I have seen that the Privateer Press are going to be doing their own spawn gates in like a plastic miniature form, so it would be interesting to see whether they do the different treasure chests as miniatures as well. That could be quite interesting. So I will just bust open the cards and we'll have a look at them. High probability that I'll put these in card protectors because I don't like cards getting all dog-eared and knackered, especially with a board game that tends to be a bit more of a, for want of a better word, beer and pretzels type game. People are likely to be eating, so having the cards be protected is probably a good idea. One of the things I noticed about this game straight away is the art style is very distinct and separated from War Machine and Hordes, while being similar enough that it doesn't feel out of place entirely. I mean, obviously some of these gadgets are a bit way too crazy for regular War Machine canon, but I think it's a nice little change. These cards do feel very thin, so they will definitely need to go in card protectors. I'm just going to check something. Just want to check their size up against a War Machine card. So they are exactly the same size as a War Machine stat card. That's pretty good. That means they all fit in the same card protectors. These are the character cards for the different heroes that come in the box set, as well as what looks like equipment cards. Alrighty. So now the dice seem fairly similar to Monpok dice. If you've seen somebody review those, look at those. They have 2 damage bits, 1 damage bit on the various sides. The unique dice mechanic for this type of game. I'm not going to go fully into the rules. I'm going to let that be. If people want me to fully go through the rules, request it. If enough people request it, I'll do it. So the bit I know you all want to see, the bases. I know you all want to see them. So we've got 2 medium, 3 small, and that equates to 40mm and 30mm, respectively. Round-lipped plastic bases. Glorious. So I'm going to start with the mini that looks... Well, actually, I'm going to start by separating out the pieces into the various minis. Looks like her. Try and make it a bit more organised. Alrighty, so I'm going to start with the craziest looking one, which is the gobber called Gubbin. This is the main body. He has a large stick of dynamite and then loads of rockets and various explosives strapped to a comically sized backpack. It really is ridiculous how much explosives this guy is carrying around with him. That is a lot of explosives. So in terms of mold lines, it's actually pretty good. There is one across the underside of the legs and crotch just there. Yep, you can see it just there. And a slight one running up the side of the backpack here, but it's nothing a file won't solve very quickly. His goofy looking head has got some excess flashing attached. That's perfectly normal. That comes off really, really easily. And the attachment point seems to be just a small protrusion from his neck. I'm going to try and get a real good look at that toothy grin. There you go. He seems really, really happy about his job. He's got a really cool set of goggles. I've already seen people painting theirs up that they either got early or Private Tipper sending them, or perhaps getting them at Gen Con. Somebody painted up really good ones where they'd painted flames in the goggles, reflecting. I really like that. If I can, I would love to do that. And this is his little hand holding a Zippo style lighter with a lick of flame coming from the top. There's a bit of excess flashing, but again, that's perfectly normal for a metal mini, and it will come off very easily. Little hand, no detail loss in the fingers, which is nice. Yeah, it's really good. So let's see how easy that goes on. So much as people might call me crazy for it, because there's a little hole in the hand that slots onto a little nub of his arm. I think I will pin this, which will mean drilling into this tiny little nub of an arm and this tiny little hand, but it seems in a position where one errant knock of a board game night and his hand will come off. Head seems to go on pretty easy, but again, I'll probably just pin that just for simplicity's sake, that it won't ever come apart again. But that's nice. I really like that model. It's really nicely cast. No obvious faults or flaws. And I look forward to painting that one up. That one should be a lot of fun. Alright, so next, might as well go with this one. This one's called Balthazar Bamfist. A dwarf from the continent of Zoo, and we've only ever had one model from Zoo before, and that was the Totem Hunter, so to see a dwarf from Zoo is pretty interesting. He's holding some sort of orb. It's quite well muscled. The musculature is nicely sculpted. You can see there quite evidently there's a pretty nasty mold line running down those armor plates on his upper leg and down into his boot. That one is a little bit considerable, but again, because it's on my arm plates, it should file down pretty easy. There's what looks like the power source for his bionic arm. I think his arm is bionic. There's nice little hanging rune glyphs from his belt here. They're nicely detailed. And the face is again really nice on this mini as well as the last one. See if I can get it to zoom in all the way on the face. So he seems quite angry looking. I just noticed that there's actually a pretty bad mold line across the top of his arm up here, on his upper arm. And that is unfortunate because that is on organic material, which is a lot harder to deal with. Nice definition in the fingers grasping that ball. It's pretty good. Let's check out his arm. Nice solid detailing on this. No overly evident mold lines at all. This is really beautifully cast. And finally, his little top knot, tiny little hairpiece. So again, people are going to think that I'm mad, but I am going to pin this. I just don't want it getting knocked off all the time, so I'm going to pin that. And the connection point on this is fairly chunky, but I might pin that as well anyway. Oh, that goes together really nicely. That goes together really nicely. I'll still likely pin it anyway, just for the future, so I don't have to worry about it. So this is Eris. This is her 4th incarnation. So if you're using her in the War Machine and Hordes game, this is Eris 4. Nice detail deep into that cloak. The hood of her cloak is really nicely hollowed out inside for underneath, behind the back and in behind the neck. I like that her armor is close enough to the previous versions of Eris, whose equipment never really changed visually that much. Nice long flowing cape. There's potential for people that are good at it to get some good space for freehanding on there. So the connection points for this one are stubs of wrist and stub of arm there. And she has these strange high-tech crossbow pistol things with bayonets. That's just metal flashing on the end. That'll come off quite easily. I think these weapons look pretty weird, but it's a weird setting. So it's kind of understandable. They are both identical. The weapons, I mean. They are obviously for separate hands, so this one would go on here and go up into the air, and then this one is aiming off. And these are most definitely getting pinned, because that is quite a weak connection for me to be happy with not pinning it. No, that gets pinned. This one's called Des. She's a very, very tall human woman. In the artwork, she's got bright coloured hair, which is pretty cool. There we go. It's nice solid detail. This one's got a lot going on, between armor plates, leather skirting, these ammo belts of what looks like the rocket ammunition for her bazooka. There we go. Really nice detail on the hair coming down into the goggles. Looks to be square pin connection joints for this one. Tiny little stubby knife on the back, because everyone's got to have a melee weapon. Another square connection for this shoulder. Nice. This model is really nicely sculpted. Barely any mold lines. There's one tiny one down the back there that runs down into the leg there. You can barely see it. Really pleased with that one. Nice shoulder armor with a clenched fist. And huge rocket launcher. Like, very big rocket launcher. With even an optic sight on the side. What looks like recoil hydraulics on the back for the possible kickback that would rip off somebody's arm. Huge, great big thing. So let's try and give her a bit of a dry fit assembly. Pretty cool looking model. Looking forward to painting this one up as well. The one thing that I do think is a little bit strange for her is how huge she truly is. This is a steelhead rifleman that I had just sat on my painting table. She is a good, so assume this guy's 5'10", and he's stooping just a little bit. She's easily coming up for 7 foot there. She's a giant. Absolutely massive. Pretty cool. And the last model is a Sigma model, so you know it's getting painted. I've got to get back up to my 100% painted for the whole faction. So this one's called Sir Dreyfus, the Storm Knight. And I'll admit, when I first saw the concept art for this one, I thought, what the hell is going on with its legs? They are spindly and thin, and what? So the detail on this one is really nice. All the little slots, which will be voltaic glowing bits. These little armor panels with the little tiny holes which fit it in with the rest of the Storm Knights that have the same sort of detailing. Centered chest piece that will probably have a glow effect on it as well. More of that armor with the holes in like Storm Knights have. Unique looking helmet. That doesn't look like any of the Storm Knights. So he's got a slight mold line running down the top of his head there. You can just see it. But again, because these are armor pieces, that is not a problem. And running down the inner thigh there as well. So this one comes with a jetpack because he can jump, and that's pretty cool. It's a weird bit of wacky mobility. I think I'm going to do blue glow for the jets because I'm going to have it that it's jumping using the voltaic energy of the storm armor. So yeah, this arm is resin. It's the one resin piece in the box. I couldn't tell you why they chose to make one piece in resin and everything else metal, but they did. So yeah. The details on the front of the shield are pretty good. You can see on this side of the shield here there is the place where the resin was injected into the mould. The detail of the hand grasping the straps is pretty damn good, especially seeing it's barely ever going to be seen. That in there is just a bit of flashing from the resin that will come off really easily. This bit on the edge though, that will require a bit of carving and then filing to make sure it stays flush. Same as this on the ball of the shoulder. That there was a resin injection area, and that will need a bit more cleanup. That's probably the most cleanup that I've seen out of all of the pieces, and it's still probably less than a minute worth of cleanup. And then this is his spear / lance, and this is going to be majority glow effects in these little bits here, the main part, in these little divots. Lots of glow effect chances on this one. This, yeah, it feels a bit thin, and I think I'm going to have to be careful about how I pose or store this, because it could easily pull and bend and then snap. I've had similar things with models with this type of weapon. So let's try and put them together. So this kind of naturally wants to angle itself backwards by nature of how the oval shaped plug is set up, but you could easily cut that off and then repose the arm in a more striking forward kind of pose. That would be quite easy. Yeah, so you could easily have it look more aggressive. This arm, how does this one want to go? So this one wants to have the shield directly in front of the mini. Wants it to be like there. That's pretty cool. That's where you'd want your shield. And then the jetpack attaches on the back very easily. Yep, it's pretty cool. So obviously I'm a Signal player. I'm excited to use this in my Games of War machine as well. Even if I wasn't excited to play Riot Quest, I would have bought this box set just for Dreyfus to put him in my Storm Division lists. Whether or not I'd keep the other minis if I wasn't planning on playing Riot Quest, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there's Mercenary Rulic players that would want to get hold of him. So with Sir Dreyfus, I do have slight reservations about his the shape of his body, because if you look at his hips, he is some sort of gangly mutant. Again, here is a steelhead for scale. He is some sort of gangly. I mean, he's really tall, but his legs are just so thin and his hips are so wide. It's very strange. I think I might headcanon that this is a advanced prototype Warjack. That might make me feel a bit better about it. I don't know. It's very strange. So all told, with the cost of the box set and the fact that you get 2 medium base and then 3 small base solos, I think just with the minis alone, this set is incredible value. I haven't had a chance to play Riot Quest. I mean, I'm only just unboxing it now, but I haven't had a chance, and I'm not sure when I will get a chance. It depends if anyone in my area ends up picking up the game. If somebody does, I'd love to feature the game on my blog and on my YouTube channel. We'll see how that goes. Like I say, it fully depends on if anybody else in the area picks up the game, because I can't afford to be buying a second copy of it. I don't really want to buy a second copy just for possibly playing it with somebody else. I'd rather buy buy the expansion minis as they come out for extra players for my team, rather than having duplicates, because I can't use the duplicates myself at all, so that would be somewhat unfortunate. I am looking forward to playing the game, should I be able to, and when I do, I will let you all know how it goes. So this has been LuckGod. I am going to sign off the review here, and I will catch you all later.